So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi villains, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I must say thank you to myself for joining tonight, because I had to peel myself off of bed today just there to do this podcast. I ate something dodgy yesterday, and believe me, nobody wanted to be in my body today. That's for 100% sure. But see how comfortable I am in describing how I felt today with my wonderful guest today, Matt Hayes. For any of you who've watched the podcast before, I think this is probably Matt's hat-trick appearance on the podcast. Our regular Spurs friend Matt from Last Word on Spurs. Matt, I'm delighted to have you, and I'm sure you're going to be delighted to chat to me about Ange Ball.
Oh, absolutely. And any opportunity I get to speak about the man in our dugout, I take with both hands. But absolute pleasure to be back on chatting with you, Neil, and looking forward to a good conversation.
Look at us. We're like that meme, that Paul Rudd meme going, look at us, look at the two of us, Spurs to Villa, proud of our managers for once, both of us, look at us, who'd have thought, that kind of thing. Because obviously I'm the same, I could wax lyrically about Unai Emery, and if Jamie Carragher is to be believed, with Stephen Kenny getting the boot in the Ireland job, Villa have to be worried that Ireland are going to rob Unai Emery, because it's only a matter of time before Unai Emery leaves Aston Villa. And I know there's a lot of water under the bridge since he said that, but it's always time, it's always good to bring that up, specifically in the sarcastic vein of Irish Football Manager. We're certainly not going to talk about that now, because I'll put myself in bad form if we do. But Aston Villa play against Spurs at a top of the table clash, or a top four clash. At the moment, Villa kind of coming from nowhere, Spurs dictating the pace at the start of the season, and mostly both teams down to their managers. And I must say, Matt, I'm going to be completely transparent and honest with you. The transition from Scottish football to English football, we've been there, we've seen it with Steven Gerrard, and let's just say it didn't go half as well as it did for you guys with Ange. And I was sceptical to a point. Obviously I could see what Ange did at Celtic, and they were just a joy to watch, but I just wasn't sure it would happen so quickly, and it has. So kind of talk me through where you went, to kind of the emotion graph, I suppose, from Ange Postecoglou is the man who's going to come in, because you guys were linked with Janssen from AZ, and was the other Dutch manager that was it Slot? Slot as well from Feyenoord as well. Talk to me about that emotional kind of graph that you guys went, because there was a lot of questioning and there was a lot of soul searching after the board made the choice after Conte, and then the summer looked a small bit uncertain.
Yeah, look, there's one thing that Spurs do absolutely awfully every time they do it, and it's a managerial search. It's always either end of the extreme with us, because when we sacked Pochettino back in 2019, it was 11 hours later we appointed Jose Mourinho, and then when he got sacked, there was a long wait for the next manager. We did an interim, then Nuno gets sacked, immediately Conte's in, and then at the end of Conte there was 2 managers before we even got our new one. We sacked an interim manager, probably the first Premier League team to do that. But the whole summer, the whole debacle, the way through to where we ended up with Ange Postecoglou was it was an absolute mess, to be quite frank. And not a lot of Tottenham fans expected that we'd end up with a good manager, but especially not that we'd be in a position at this point of the season where we're thinking top 4 or top 5, whatever it ends up being at the end of the season, is in our grasp. And I was excited. I'm always excited by a new manager coming in, always excited by new players coming in, like you are, Neil. And I started doing a lot of research into the managers that we were linked with, and there was Arne Slot, as you mentioned, Ruben Amorim at Sporting was another name that was there, and there's 5, 6, 7, 8 names that were coming out. And Arne Slot was the last one that I bothered to look into, because every single one fell apart. And the name after Slot was Ange Postecoglou. So he was the only manager we were linked with over the summer that I didn't have a bit of a kind of basis of knowledge on, which, to be fair, has worked out kind of well for me, because it's been exciting to kind of learn about the way he plays football and his philosophies, kind of watching it happen on the pitch for Spurs rather than watching Celtic games or Yokohama Marino games through the kind of lens of someone who's looking for positive things, if that makes sense. But I had the exact same concerns that you did. And Gerrard is kind of one of the the examples that I used, Neil Lennon, who I wouldn't say was an awful manager in English football, but was certainly a lot more successful in Scotland than he was in England. And it's just not a transition that has been very easy. And I put up a tweet about that back when it happened, and it found its way onto Celtic Twitter. And I had hundreds of Celtic fans screaming the name Sir Alex Ferguson at me. And I was saying, well, if you're going to have to go back 40 years to find a name that was successful, I think it
was successful.
Exactly. It kind of goes along with our point, but yeah, he's done everything perfectly since he came in, from the way he dealt with the Harry Kane questions in his first few press conferences, all the way through that, seeing him go, the way we've recruited, the way we played our way through pre-season and through a few difficult games this season, which I'm sure we'll touch on in a little bit. It's been absolutely fantastic from the moment that he was appointed, and well, hopefully it lasts a long time.
Yeah, and it's funny as people watch the podcast know, Paddy is a massive Celtic fan as well, so he would have known an awful lot about Ange, and he was gutted that Ange was leaving Celtic, because obviously he'd only been there for a short period of time. But I remember when Ange was appointed for Celtic, it kind of came out of the blue, and the first thing everybody was jumping on, he didn't. And this is talk about his growth as a person, I suppose, as a within the media. And how he deals with the media and stuff. There's an interview with him when he was Australian under-19 coach or something along those lines. He was coaching in Australia at the time, and he absolutely lifts the interview out of it. And it was on TV, and he's swearing and he's effing and he's blinding and everything like that. And then you fast forward to when he comes into Celtic, and in Celtic he's very humble, and he's got the jibes. Look, no offense to any of our Australian listeners, I absolutely love how thorny Australians can be in interviews at times. I love it. I'm like that as well. I love to get the cut and comment in first as well. If I'm speaking to somebody that I know is going to be argumentative with me, I like to get low first, put it that way. And Ange can do that too. But since he's come into the English game, that's what's been most, I suppose. I think that's what's kind of taken a lot of people aback. He's playing the same style of football as he did at Celtic, but and I suppose it's early days and things are going well. And if things were to go off the rails, we would see how his demeanor might change. But he's an enjoyable listen, and he's getting lots of the plaudits for it. Do you think that that's transferring itself onto the field with the players that you have? And like, it looks like it's a happy family there, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at this point of where we're at, everything is positive, so it's easy for the players to buy into what he's saying and to buy into everything that he's really about as a football manager. I think when things start to go poorly, which it seems to have already started in terms of the results that we've had in the last couple of games, I think that's when we'll really see exactly what Ange can make of the squad. And the game against Wolves was a little bit of an eye-opener, because we had that game against Chelsea where we played that ridiculous high line with 9 men, which, by the way, almost worked. But in that Wolves game, we're 1-0 up, and as Wolves are kind of getting into the game and growing to become the better side in that game, we started slowly going back into our shell, which is the problem that we've had over the last 3 or 4 years. But what gives me confidence in that is I have absolutely no doubt that Ange told them exactly what he felt about that, and that just simply isn't the way that we're going to play football. And I don't know if you saw, he did a thing with Rio Ferdinand last week or the week before on TNT Sports, where they were looking back at kind of some of what we played in pre-season. And there was one moment that Ferdinand picked out where I think it was Harry Kane was the only person pressing, and Ange said that's actually the exact clip that he used in his halftime analysis with the players in that game. I was just saying, just bluntly put it, this is not acceptable. This is not who we are. And he made the point that we were playing the situation rather than the game. So the situation was that we were 1-0 up with 2 minutes to go to half time, whereas we needed to play our football no matter what the situation is. And that's something that will take a while to find its way into a team that is used to Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho and a little sprinkling of Nuno Espirito Santo in the middle there. It's going to take a while for that to happen. But what's really helping with it, and what's allowing Ange to kind of transform the squad a lot quicker than people would have thought, is how exceptional our recruitment has been. Mickey van de Ven, I don't think there's a centre-back in world football that was a better choice.
I was just about to ask you about it, because if any of you guys follow Matt's Twitter, Mickey van de Ven, put it this way, Matt would give him his house for free. He'd pay
him to take it.
He's going to start a podcast called For the Love of Mickey van de Ven.
I'm going to write that down. That's a good one. He's just. There's concern when he's incredible. There's concern when you bring in a centre back from from another league. You know, he's coming in. It's not a game that he's used to playing. It's not as the Bundesliga isn't as physical a lot of the time as the Premier League. You're not coming up against your Chris Woods and your Joe Lintons and things like that. But he's come in and it looks like he's been playing for Spurs for 10 or 15 years. It looks like he's been playing for Ange for that long. You know, every single attribute in his game is exactly what we need in this team. And I'm definitely looking at this through kind of white tinted glasses, but I don't see a flaw in his game. You know, his pace is absolutely electric. He recorded the quickest speed of any player in the Bundesliga last season. He's 6'4", I think, so he's incredible in the air. He's really good in possession. His kind of defensive timing, his tackling, his intercepting is absolutely phenomenal. And if that is the kind of benchmark of the recruitment that we're going to have under Ange Postecoglou, and that's before we even get on to James Madison. I think there's a special team there behind the scenes with a few new faces, which I don't know if we're going to mention or not. But there's a very, very special team there that I'm hoping can build an even more special team on the pitch.
Yeah, you mentioned a few faces that you didn't just go shopping for players. You kind of went chatting up other people's birds in that kind of sense. You know, you took Frederick Leith, and you obviously took Johan Lange as well from Aston Villa, and they're going to head up your recruitment department, which I'm going to say is a smart move, specifically because I think that Ange is analytical in the way that he looks at things. You need to be able to find a player that will match British style football, bring them from. And majority of his players did come from Asia, the Asian continent, specifically Japan, and so on and so forth. And he's looked at yes, look, anybody could know that James Madison would come into a team and offer something to their team, but you still have to have the nous to be able to sign him and play him and know what he does well. That comes from recruitment, that comes from statistical analysis, and so on as well. But James Madison, and look, I know there's an elephant in the room here. With the two players we're going to talk about, and we're probably going to talk about another one as well in Christian Romero and probably Yves Bissouma. They're all going to be out for you though again at the weekend, and we're bigging them up and we're talking about them. So just with a caveat that I feel that this game is coming. Spurs will earn their win at the weekend, and they very well may win. But James Madison is going to be out, and he's really made you guys tick since he's signed.
Yeah, I know I said it about Van de Ven, but Madison, he also looks like he's been in this team for so long. I think everyone knew Madison was an absolutely outstanding footballer, and I'm one of many who was confused about why he was at Leicester for so long and why there weren't bigger teams coming in and paying the money that it took. It cost us 40 million to get him in, but he has an ability that you just can't teach. He just always knows where everyone around him is, where every single one of his teammates is. He always knows where the best pass is. And that game against Chelsea, which I know we lost 4-1, but the goal that we scored comes from a pass that, to be honest, Madison makes look easy, but he's out on the left-hand side. He's one pass that completely eliminates the Chelsea back three, or the Chelsea midfield three, and isolates Kulusevski against the left-back over on the far side, and we end up scoring from it. He had a pass against Liverpool where there's this tiny little gap in between the centre-back and the right-back. He puts it through there where Richarlison's in and squares it to Son. That sort of ability you can't teach, and that's something that we're really going to miss. And there's an argument in the Tottenham fan base now over who can actually step in and not fill that role, because no one's going to fill that role, but do a different type of job in there. Lo Celso is the name that's being mentioned, which of course someone who's very familiar to Unai Emery. The problem is, as good as he's been for Argentina, as good as he was with Villarreal when he was on loan there, he's never done it for Tottenham. But then we don't have another creative player who can go in there. The only other argument is Rodrigo Bentancur, who made his first start for Uruguay since he got injured in January. But he's not that. He's more of an 8 than that kind of creative spark in there. So it's a massive gap that we know we're not going to be able to fill. It's just finding what other pieces of the puzzle we can put together to just minimize what we're missing from not having Madison in there.
And his creative spark is going to be missing, because obviously, while Son Heung-min can make goals on his own, he does, like, he can be a creator, he can also be provider, he can also be somebody who needs chances created for him. I think they've worked well together. He's you can see it. He worked well with Kane. He formed a partnership with Madison. So Madison being out, is Son carrying a knock as well? I saw he came off for South Korea, or is everything all okay with him?
Yeah, no, Son's been carrying a knock for about 2 years, to be honest. He played their first game in the international break last week, and he was bruised and battered, and he ended up limping off, and then played the full 90 minutes for them the other day as well. It's not often that Tottenham fans have something bad to say about Jurgen Klinsmann, but we're absolutely furious with him that Son plays 180 minutes every international break for no reason. It's friendlies.
Friendlies, exactly. Yeah, and Son reminds me of when Jack Grealish was with us as well. Like, Jack Grealish would come off battered, and you'd be going like, "Oh, he's definitely out for a week or 2 weeks." And then there came a time when he was, and we were like, "Going, oh crap, Jack is actually injured this time," you know. So, I asked the question because you do always see Son kind of hobbling at times, and then bangs one in the top corner. So I wasn't sure whether he actually was injured or not. Now, saying all that, and obviously talking about those players that are missing, we didn't even get on to the two people who were suspended. And Yves Bissouma, I think, it's going to be a bit of an issue as well, him being there, because he's been reborn under Ange, and obviously Christian Romero, who I hope you won't mind me saying must be up there. Like, he's Julian Dix from Argentina. Like, how filthy he can be at times. But they're all going to be missing. And who's going to replace them in your view? Are we going to look at Eric Dyer and Ben Davies as a centre-half partnership?
You absolutely 100% are. And they're going to play the high line. And I'm terrified. It's going to be a complete makeshift team. It was Dyer and Davies that started against Wolves. And look, they're a centre-back partnership who have a lot of experience, have played a lot of football matches for Tottenham Hotspur. But they're both past their best, whatever their best was, and they don't have the pace to play in a high line. And a Bailey or a Watkins is 100% going to take advantage of that. In the midfield, I can't see past Sarr, Bentancur, and Højbjerg, which is a much flatter midfield three to what we played for the majority of the season, but it is kind of in line with the way we shaped up against Wolves, and it was Højbjerg, Bissouma, and Sarr. So I think you're just swapping Bissouma for Bentancur there, who's going to be the kind of progressor in midfield. But as much as we're going to be lacking a bit going forward because we're not going to have that 10, we're not going to have that creative player, we do need someone or two people to protect that back line, because Udogie, by the way, as well, he has a knock. We don't know if he's going to be fit. He could also be missing. If that is the case, we're going to end up with Porro at right back and Emerson at left back, who's not a left back. So that back four could be anything, and it's something that I'm really scared you will be able to exploit. But for me, and I think it's the way Tottenham fans watched that game against Chelsea is very different to the way opposition fans watched it. And from a kind of neutral perspective, you're looking at Tottenham 2 men down, drawing 1-1 at home to one of their rivals, and they're playing this ridiculous high line, asking for trouble with the pace that Chelsea had there. But for Spurs, what we're looking at is a team that's been lacking identity for 4 years, a team that hasn't played football the way every single Tottenham fan wants football to be played. And we finally have a manager who's coming in and saying, well, no matter what, this is how we're going to play. We're going to play a high line. We're going to press from the front. We're going to keep possession. We're going to, or philosophy remains the same no matter what the situation in front of us is. And we know short term that's going to cost us results. I mean, if we park the bus against Chelsea with how they can't create very much, we could have got a point there. But I think the long-term effect of what that says, not only to the fans, but to the players especially, that we are unwavering in what we want to do. That's fantastic. I just think it will get 3 points for Villa on Sunday.
Well, I hope so. I hope, like, because it's tight at the top, and Jesus, as I say, like it seems a bit silly saying that as an Aston Villa fan, but it's really tight at the top. And like, you know, we went into the international break and we went to ourselves. We dropped points against Forest, like that's very un-Villa like, and we dropped those points. If we didn't, we'd be top of the league, you know. That situation. That's a pinch yourself moment. But Villa have obviously had a favourable run of form. That's not a negative at all. You need to beat those teams. Villa haven't in the past, and that's why we've struggled, and that's why we got relegated not so long ago. But now, like you guys, we have a very defined structure. There's an identity there, and I wince when I say that, because I feel it's just it's an easy. It's almost like a slur to say it to about a team. Say, oh, they have no identity, and then when a team is playing well, it's just very easy to say, oh, they've got identity. We've got a very good manager, is what we have, who makes changes in game like you guys do. Do you think that Ange is going to be tempted to go with 3 at the back? Actually, do you think he might go with maybe a Ben Davies, Emerson Royale either side of Dyer, and then go with 3 at the back and maybe kind of circumnavigate that way? And then that would allow you guys to play the high line with having the pace of Royal and Davies there beside Dyer.
Look, I'm sure it's something he's thinking about. My only fear with that would be is there's so many like tactical intricacies in every part of Ange Postecoglou's game, in the triggers that we press with, in just the most basic, who occupies this 5% of the pitch when the ball is here. I don't know if he's had enough time with this team to have kind of not perfected, but to be so comfortable in one system where they're already ready to play another system, if that makes sense. I think he's going to try to keep it as simple as possible and say, this is the way we're playing until we get it perfect. And, you know, there's that age-old debate of the best managers. Are they the ones who can play their game and beat anyone? Or are they the ones who can adapt their game to beat anyone? From what I do know about Ange, I think he's more the former, where he'll play his game and he'll obviously tweak it in whatever way he needs to account for the opposition. But I personally can't see him straying away from any variation of the 4-3-3.
Yeah, it would be a surprise, but it wouldn't blow me off my seat, I suppose, if that went, because sometimes needs must in an injury crisis and a suspension crisis like you guys are going through. And obviously Villa have had their injuries. It's been a funny one. I can say both things can be true about Aston Villa. I can say Villa have had an incredibly stable 11 this season. And I can also say 4 of Villa's starters have been injured for the majority of the season, you know, and both things are true. And I suppose that's why I went on my little bit of a soliloquy about managers there a moment ago, because obviously the spirit leader of our team, Tyrone Mings, much derided by other fans, but, you know, like, every team has one of those players that means more to their fans than other fans will appreciate him. Jacob Ramsey's been out for the majority of the year. Alex Moreno is out, albeit he's back and probably will feature at the weekend. Buendia and, you know, Diego Carlos has been in and out of the team being injured as well. So, you know, we've had injuries to a lot of players like that. And when you mentioned there that, you know, not straying from a specific formation or from a specific tactical setup, I think Emery is like that as well. And it's very easy to, like, it's funny because it depends. Once again, I'll go back to it. If results are going your way, you're lauded for trusting the process. If results aren't going your way, you're called stubborn, you know, and it's just very easy. And that's why I always resort to the whole, I do it most of the time, sit back and think about what's going on. And there's a reason why people do things. It's not because managers are lazy, albeit, you know, Mr. Gerrard was here previously at times. And but how do you see Aston Villa? I suppose through the lens of being a Spurs fan, you know, it's I think we're a curious kind of conundrum for a lot of other supporters of other teams, because they realize it and they go, Jesus, Villa aren't half bad, you know. All of it, it's that kind of a, I didn't know they were that good kind of a situation that we tend to find ourselves in. But how do you see Villa and how do you see their progression under Unai Emery?
Well, I can pinpoint exactly that moment that I had where I was like, oh, this is a serious team. Was it West Ham that you beat 4-1 at Villa Park maybe a month and a half ago? I watched that game. I think it's probably the only time I've watched Villa for 90 minutes this season, and I was blown away by, and look, I know, having kind of looked at the reaction to that, it might not have been the best that you played this season, but the way that he carved through that West Ham defence at times, the kind of quick, intricate play in and around the penalty area, the pace he had at times on the counter attack. You're not a one-dimensional team that has just been able to play this one way and win a lot of games this season. You've a lot of different things in your basket and different ways that you can approach the game. And I saw someone put in the comments at the start, kind of, do I see as rivals for this season for top 4? 100%. 100%. I mean, I'm still not convinced that Tottenham are one of the favourites for top 4/top 5, as people say, because again, who knows how we're going to react to these injuries. But for this season that is ahead, it's a bit more difficult when you get to the medium term and long term, because you question, I don't want to be a Jamie Carragher, but is Unai Emery going to be there for long? Are there certain players that are going to be there for long? And I know how it feels hearing that said about your clubs. I'm a Spurs fan. It's every day for us. But in the short term, in the season that is right in front of us, Aston Villa are 100% in the mix. And it's not just because of how good you are. It's also looking at Chelsea are so inconsistent. I think there's a turn coming for them, but they're already 10, 12 points behind Manchester United, who can't stitch 2 results together. And again, that potential extra Champions League space. For me, Villa are absolutely in the hunt for Champions League football this season. And to be honest, I'm not only saying this because I'm on a Villa podcast. I don't think anyone can begrudge them that, because their recruitment is fantastic. They have a very likeable manager, a very likeable squad. Ollie Watkins is one of my favourite players to watch. no, I know it can be frustrating at times, but he's such a good player, and Douglas Luiz as well. Let's just mention that. I'd take him with Spurs in a heartbeat. But yeah, no, I think Villa they're just a proper team that's going to give it a good go this season and deserves whatever they get.
You're making friends there, Matt, bringing up Douglas Luiz. You're making friends on this podcast for sure, because he's been out of this world this season, and like and for me, I'm the conductor of, and have been since the day he signed from Brentford. I'm the conductor of the Ollie Watkins fan bus, for sure. Paddy sometimes not so much, but that's okay. We like Paddy. We like Paddy from that point of view. And if he's watching this, he's probably going, "I always love him. But we can get his back at some stage on me later on. But yeah, look, listen, I'm really looking forward to this game. I really am looking forward to it. It's as I say, it's once again I say it's 4th and 5th in the league, battling it out against each other at 2 p.m. on a Sunday. You know, what could possibly go wrong in a game like that? Our away form has been absolutely rotten. Well, I won't say it's been rotten, but it's been patched in our home form. Like we've sterling home form, absolutely brilliant at the moment. Long may it continue. We need a good away win. Like you mentioned the West Ham, you mentioned Brighton. You know, we need a signature game away from home, I think. And I'm crossing fingers and toes that it's going to be this weekend. With the amount of injuries you guys have at the moment, and with the stability that Aston Villa are coming in for, Jesus, our goalkeeper was even in the stands boxing Brazilian policeman last night. So you know, there's a bit of fight in our squad for that point of view. But I'm expecting fireworks in the field from the point of view. I'm expecting goals at the weekend. I'm expecting this to be high scoring. I think I'm not going to go with an actual prediction, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was a 3-2 either way in this game, because I think it's been called the Highline Derby. Villa have been much derided for it. I think unfairly so, being derided for the High Line, considering when you look at how many offsides we've been successful in catching teams, even since Unai Emery came in. We're miles ahead of anyone in England, and I think we're top with Las Palmas, and Las Palmas have 3 games, I think, played more than us. So it's a definite tactic. But I think there's going to be goals in this one. And it'll be a great one for the neutrals, I think, for sure. Absolute sure. Matt, thank you so much for popping on the podcast. Oh, actually, Matt, I meant to say congratulations as well in the Football Creator Awards. Last Word on Spurs came second.
Second, yeah. Best Premier League podcast. We'll take it.
Second and best Premier. Yeah, look, in fairness, to be honest with you, like they lost our entry somehow. So, like, you know, it's it's a crying shame. I got to blame it on the North Koreans. The North Koreans fixed it. That's what it was. They fixed it.
I'll take that. We were saying that Liverpool had fixed it because it was at Anfield ref that won at Anfield. Now, look, no conspiracy theories here.
There's a man in there's a man in the chat that won't like that, Matt. Old Dara won't like that one at all. He'll have words with you on that one tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, can deal with it.
But the Anfield rap, yeah, I've been on their podcast a couple of times as well. You know, the amount of content they put out is absolutely fantastic.
They're machines.
Yeah, and so someday, myself and Paddy might meet you over there for it. Although you didn't go this year, did you? You didn't get to go over.
No, I did go this year. So I was down there myself a couple of years ago, and I didn't go, but I did manage to go this. I wasn't missing out on that again.
Yeah, now the comments make sense. That's it. Excellent. Well, listen, Matt, thanks a million for popping on the podcast. As I say, I wish you guys well for the season, just not for the weekend coming up. As I say, I think it's going to be a really, really good game of football. I think it's one that I think it's going to be probably one of the, like, there's going to be sparks in it, as I said before, and I think anybody who gets the chance to go there. Did I see somebody in the comments say that they were going to it? I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I dreamt it. As I say, I've had a fever for most of the day. So hallucination. I don't even know if this has gone live. I could be hallucinating this whole podcast. It's one of those ones.
I don't know who you're talking to.
Matt's not even here. It's like Wayne's World. You know, Matt's just going to do that thing out of Wayne's World and just disappear. A couple of comments there as well. I know I meant to address it at the very start about. First of all, guys, thank you very much for standing up for me with my lovely beard. Can't believe that Bardell in his podcast saying that he couldn't think of any other good Villa beards outside of Milla Jednak. Like, you think you know someone, and then all of a shot.
Stab you in the back.
I'm only joking, Dan, if you're watching. Richard Edwards asked about the woolly hat. Yes, I put this on because I'll be honest with you, my hair is not the most not the most sightly at the moment. We have some hats in, a limited number of hats in as well. I'll post it up on Twitter, but if you go to our website, FTLoPMcG.com, you'll see that there's hats for sale. There's actually these ones. And we got more of the bucket hats in that sold like hotcakes at our live podcast as well therein. And I know and unless anybody's going spending the summer or spending the Christmas on Bondi, you may not want these ones, you may want these ones. But look, they're both there. If anybody wants them for one of their loved ones for Christmas, pop in an order and I'll throw them straight in the post the day after you order. So thanks so much, everybody, for all the support you give us. Thanks so much, Matt, for jumping on as well. Oh, Chad says he loves the bobble hat as well. Dennis was asking if my heating was turned off. No, my heating isn't turned off. My central heating in my body at the moment is actually on overdrive at the minute. So the hat was a bad choice, but I had no other choice. I had no other choice when I put it on as well. But again, thanks a million, Matt, for popping on, and best of luck with everything with the last word on Spurs, and I hope you win the title next year. But as I say, for Sunday, Aston Villa all the way against Spurs in the Spurs stadium.
Hey, look, I'll allow you to say that, but it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent stuff, Matt. Thank you as always. And to everybody out there, thanks a million for everything. I'm going to be back again tomorrow with Sir Patrick. He's going to give us his view on this game at the weekend. So we'll be doing a preview. I know I don't normally do opposition previews, but Matt's a great mate of the podcast. And look, if you ever want to listen to Matt's transfer stuff, if you guys think that I'm mental about transfer stuff, Matt Hayes in the day was absolutely he was like Jim White on Crystal Met. He was just absolutely all over transfers for Spurs. So so he's coming into his happy season as well. So thanks a million, Matt, for that, and thanks a million to everybody for joining us tonight. Back again with Paddy again tomorrow, as I say, and then we will be here with a team sheet tantrum and a post match on Sunday as well. In the meantime, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.